What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. All right, we're back for another one. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome back to EP09 Bodybuilding. We are officially 5 days out from the 2025 Mr. Olympia competition. And finally, we can honestly say that we have all of the best at this year's Olympia. There will be no questions. There will be no, what if this guy showed up? What if this guy wasn't injured? There will be none of that at this year's Mr. Olympia. And some of those things being put out of question in particular is surrounding this athlete. Behrouz Tabani, after 4 years of trying to make it to the Olympia stage, always being qualified, always being ready, right down to the last minute, we now finally have Behrouz Tabani, who will stand with the best of the best in bodybuilding. So Behrouz right now looking absolutely ridiculous. I think that he is really showing up with enough time to really bring his best on stage, because he showed up, I believe it was 8 or 9 days out to the USA. That is lots of time for him to be able to bring his best. Now with Behrouz, there's really 3 separate camps out there discussing where he will place when it comes to this Olympia lineup. You've got the camp saying that he'll be anywhere around 6th or 7th place. You've got the camp saying that he'll be somewhere around 4th place. And you've got a very, very minuscule camp being basically just Milos Sarcev, his coach, saying that he can win. Now look, I don't think that Behrouz can win the 2025 Mr. Olympia. But let's look at all the variables and decide exactly where Behrouz could realistically place when it comes to either that 6th or 7th spot or making it into that elusive top 4. Now, like I said, when it comes to timing, Behrouz was here with plenty of time to be able to get off the water weight, really settle himself into Las Vegas, and especially Milos being a Las Vegas native, I don't think that there's going to be any issue when it comes to anything like that, travel related or otherwise. Now, also, you got to consider that Behrouz has been in this position before. Like I said, the 4th time for him being qualified and actually making it. So there's consideration when it comes to overall stress. I don't think that he'd be overly stressed given the fact that he's been here before leading up to this Olympia, because he's already done it 3 times. He's gone through this before. Not saying that any other time makes it easier, the more that time goes on. But I think that Behrouz would be in a good mental state that way. Now, on the other side of the coin, coming to the biggest stage in bodybuilding for the first time after 4 years, there's got to be a lot of anticipation that's built up there. Maybe he might be a little bit even, dare I say, nervous stepping onto the Olympia stage as a possibility. Not saying that's the case, but it could be a consideration. But really, when it comes down to the physique, Behrouz right now, I feel, is undeniably at his best. And that's typically what we see from Behrouz when it comes to any updates that he does post. So when it comes to where can he realistically place? Well, you look at the last guy that he defeated being William Bonac at the Dubai Pro, okay? He defeated William Bonac at that show, who finished 7th place at the Olympia last year. He defeated Nathan Diasha. You've got Nex Zilla, Tony O'Burton, who was 8th place in 2023. So really, when you look at it like that, considering, I don't know, you could say marginal improvements. Although William Bonac is looking ridiculous right now as well, on paper, perhaps Behrouz could defeat last year's 7th place. So that leaves in front of him Andrew Jacked and Martin Fitzwater. Can Behrouz really defeat either of those competitors? I mean, really, is Behrouz Tabani good enough to take on the aesthetics of Andrew Jacked? Considering that everybody should be at their best, okay? So let's say that he can defeat Andrew. He has better proportions. He ended up winning more shots than Andrew. He's taking on Martin Fitzwater. Supposedly Martin being at his most conditioned and with the smallest waist that we've ever seen on him, with more edged out details in those quads than you have ever seen. A substantially improved Martin Fitzwater. Can he be defeated by Behrouz Tabani? So I think the possibilities are pretty slim that he defeats either Andrew Jacked or Martin Fitzwater. And I'm just going to say it, I won't have Behrouz Tabani in my top 4. I haven't made my official predictions as of yet because, you guys, this just changes everything. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Can Behrouz Tabani defeat guys like Andrew Jacked, Martin Fitzwater, or are you in the camp that says that he could make the top 4? Some very big names in bodybuilding have put it out there that Behrouz could crack into that top 4. I've seen some people saying that if he does break into the top 4, that it will be 4th place, taking Derek Lunsford completely out of that spot altogether. So this is a very tough one to place. But like I said, you guys let me know where you think Behrouz Tabani is going to land in this Olympia lineup in the comments below. Now, we'll talk about Derek in a minute, but we have to address this recent controversy happening within the classic physique division. I'm sure that everybody has heard by now Mike Sommerfeld's height coming into complete and total question in the bodybuilding world. What does Mike actually have when it comes to his official height and how he is heighted in? This has been a massive point of contention and controversy going around the internet right now, and with only 1 week, well, less than 1 week actually going into the show, okay, apparently the IFBB Pro League has decided to respond. There has been an email leaked by an unnamed athlete, as reported by Who Is the Best Bodybuilder on Instagram, and it does state very clearly that athletes will be subject to being reheighted at this year's 2025 Mr. Olympia. So the organization, feeling like it really needed to respond when it came to the controversy circling around the net. That'll tell you the kind of impact and weight that this topic has really had going into the Olympia. Now, I'm not going to show that email here because it does state very clearly as well that there is strict confidentiality notices with that, and I don't want any legal action. You guys can go and check it out for yourselves, but that's the gist of it, is that athletes will be reheighted. Everybody is going to be subject to that, including the most polarizing individual right now when it comes to the height process, being, of course, Mike Sommerfeld. And if there's one thing that we can definitely rest assured on, is the fact that the internet will never forget. The investigators went to work, found this image from 2019 saying that Mike was 1.71 centimeters, okay? Mike claiming to be 1.73 centimeters in order for him to make that weight cap, being 212 pounds. Being underneath that would put him at 204. And it's not just the fact that Mike is saying that he is one height and then being measured as another. It is the way that he is being measured that is really stirring up controversy as well. Mike being apparently heighted by the top of his hair and not the top of his skull, giving him potentially that extra little height in order for him to get the substantial weight increase of 212 pounds. And this was the clip that really sealed it for me. Mike stating here, officially him being 1.73, but actually 1.70, speaking with Dennis James. You guys, there is definitely something happening when it comes to Mike Sommerfeld and this whole heighted in process. And I am glad that the organization is taking this seriously because, look, although Mike is the most recent person to have this controversy surrounding him, he is certainly not the only one in the past to be subject to this. You guys will probably remember a few years ago, Ramon Dino not making his proper height, Chris Aceto stepping in and having certain words with whatever individuals within the organization, and suddenly Ramon is able to compete at the height that he was looking for, thus getting the weight cap that he was looking for. No idea what happened there, but Ramon not being the only one as well. This happening on many levels of the sport when it comes to competitors trying to get that extra height advantage. How many of you guys remember this? Stefan Matala back, what was it, a year or two ago, I guess it was now, trying to cheat the system as well by standing on the sides of his feet. Now, whether or not that actually gains him any additional height, I do not know. I cannot say for sure, but regardless, trying to cheat the system, okay? Now, I was actually of the opinion a couple of years ago that athletes should be heighted in one time, and I find myself questioning that opinion given the fact that we are seeing these most recent transgressions. Now, perhaps they could just solidify the process and then have athletes heighted in one time. Maybe that would solve some of the issue here, but regardless, this is not going to fare out well, I feel, for Mike Sommerfeld. I think this reflects upon Mike Sommerfeld very poorly in the eyes of the bodybuilding fans, and if he does end up having to get down to that 204 pounds, I mean, guys, you are talking an 8-pound drop. Now, let's just say that Mike is going to prepare for the worst. Mike is going to try and get down to that 204 pounds. If this email came out at, say, a week out, for conversation's sake, In order to lose 8 pounds in 7 days, that would be 1.14 pounds per day, okay? And that 1.14 pounds per day is the best case scenario. You're getting into very dangerous territory to even attempt to drop 8 pounds when you look like this. So that could affect his look on stage significantly, and it could put him into very dangerous territory when it comes to trying to drop that much weight, being this lean, and especially given the fact that he's looking like this. Like I said, you guys, I don't know, sounds very dangerous. But look, I want to hear from you guys on this as well. What do you think of these recent conversations happening surrounding Mike Sommerfeld, the height it in process? Give me your opinion on what you think is going to happen with Mike when he does step on that scale. Do you think that he will end up making the height? Will the organization just say, this is how we've always done it, we're not going to change things when it comes to being this far out? They'll measure him from his hair, that will be the end of it, and Mike will make the weight? Or do you think it's going to go the other way, and the organization recognizes that the public backlash would be exponential if they measured Mike that way again? You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, it's time to get into it. We are down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. Derek Lunsford posting an update at 7 days out of the Olympia. And Derek, I think, being, easily the most disliked person in all of bodybuilding right now, honestly, even more so than Mike Sommerfeld. But, you know, the reasons behind that is because Derek, I just don't think has played the game very well this year. Because on paper, really, this guy should be one of the more favored guys to come in and win, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when it comes to just the physique of what we're seeing from Derek Lunsford right now, okay, I can't say that I'm very impressed. I think that Derek is looking like he is going to come in softer. It looks like he's going to come in, I think, overall smaller when it comes to the back in particular. These poses that he's hitting as well, you know, these are not poses that we typically have seen Derek Lunsford hit in the past when it comes to his YouTube videos. I mean, if you guys followed Derek's stuff from last year and the year before, when Derek hits poses in the gym, he just comes right out. He'll hit his front double. He'll hit his most musculars. There's nothing when it comes to these angles and hiding. And Derek speaking in those videos as well, you know, actually speaking to the camera, where lately Derek has been posting videos and really saying nothing. You know, I think that they're trying to really cover the fact that Derek, when he does speak, does not do himself any favors right now in the eyes of the fans. And that's a very real thing in bodybuilding. Anybody that tells you that nobody cares about the story, okay, nobody cares about the journey leading up to the stage, absolutely untrue, because it is the fans that at the end of the day either support or do not support these athletes. And essentially, without getting too into it, that translates into dollars and cents and everything like that. But look, regardless of that, Derek, I just don't think looks very good right now compared to what I've seen in the past. Now, I have said it before, and I will say it again. I think that this could be an indicator of certain things when it comes to how Derek is going to step on stage, but we certainly can't take it for everything when it comes to our predictions. Remember, all of us counted out Derek Lunsford when it came to him going up against Samson Dauda at this year's Arnold Classic, okay? Ended up beating Samson. Same thing at the Pittsburgh Pro. Now, arguably and controversially, Derek did win that show, arguably being the fact that Nick, in the eyes of many people, did end up taking home that win. But look, still, given the fact that we count out Derek before and he's proved us wrong, just like, you know, we used to talk about Nick proving people wrong all the time, Derek just being that polarizing figure as well in bodybuilding right now. And people just can't stand a disingenuous public figure, you know, especially one like Derek, who has appeared, I think, fairly genuine in the past. And really, I think it was ever since that hot mic incident. You guys probably remember that, the Battle of the Olympia between Samson Dauda and Nick Walker, Derek Lunsford. I think that's the one thing that really kind of screwed things up for Derek. But when it comes to just focusing on the physique of Derek Lunsford and how he has looked leading up to the show versus how he's looked stepping on stage, this guy should not be counted out. And I have heard from inside sources that Derek right now is looking absolutely ridiculous when it comes to the legs. These are the biggest that his legs have ever been. There is more detail than ever. And a lot of people think that Derek is simply being counted out from his inner circle, okay? Now, whether I think that's the case or not, I can't say that I'm very impressed when it comes to these updates. I do think that if Derek is going to be dialing in, that it is going to happen very, very quickly, which we have seen him do before. Whether or not he will be able to replicate that this time after doing, well, this being his third show of the season, and Derek typically really only doing one show a season, that's going to be an X factor for Derek. So this could be the last time that we speak about Derek Lunsford on this channel before I make my official predictions. Where do we place a guy like this? Where do we place a guy that has defeated our most recent Mr. Olympia champion outside of the Olympia, has also defeated the People's Champion going into the show, being Nick Walker back at the Pittsburgh, okay? Very difficult guy to place right now, because Derek could turn it all around and show up absolutely ridiculous. Make no mistake, he does have a chance to win this entire show. As for where I'm going to place him, you guys will find out here soon. But let me know where you guys have Derek Lunsford when it comes to your predictions. One thing is for sure, this is going to be a very difficult show to predict. And one of the things that makes this show so difficult to predict is when we see images like this from Nick Walker at less than a week out, and he looks like he could come in and basically win the entire show. You guys, these are very, very impressive updates from Nick Walker. I think that it is safe to say that we are seeing substantial improvements from Nick Walker compared to what we've seen in previous showings. Nick apparently up 15 pounds from where he's been previously. I have seen reports on that, but regardless of the weight, this is a ridiculous version of Nick Walker. So as far as indications go for Nick, he's really been the one leading up to this show looking the best. And, you know, I don't think it's just physique-wise that Nick has been really looking the best. You know, mainly physique-wise, don't get me wrong. But I think that Nick has played the game very, very well when it comes to social media leading up to the show. He is resonating with the fans as being very, very genuine. I think that we're seeing that with Samson Dowda as well. Nick has been very consistent with his content on his YouTube channel, and Nick has been very consistent really laying out how it is he's been feeling, how he's been training, what he's been going through, you guys. This is just really, like I said, resonated with the fans very, very positively. But Nick actually laid out his plan and his expectations for himself very clearly, very close to the Olympia. You guys check out this clip here.
My job is to show up skinless, dry, grainy, full. Yeah. That's my mindset. And I don't care how hard I gotta suffer. I don't care how hard I feel like I just want to quit. Like, I love this shit. And I know, like I said, I want to be able to walk off stage, win or lose, and be like, yeah, you know what? I gave it my all, though. The only reason why I lost was because obviously somebody was just a little better, not because I was outworked.
See, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to Nick. There's nothing in question when it comes to what his stance is on how he plans on showing up and what his expectations are for him stepping on that stage. And when you look at Derek's videos versus Nick's videos, you know, people say that Derek's are, frankly, pretty cringy. And Derek barely speaks in his videos now, like I said earlier, you know? And I'm sure Derek was advised to really start saying less and really just let the editor take over a lot of this to try to make it seem more dramatic leading up to the Olympia without Derek actually having to say anything. But look, the damage is done. Saying less in this instance to the fans does not offer an ability to really regain any favor. It really just solidifies, if anything, it just solidifies the fans' opinion of Derek being fairly arrogant and nervous when it comes right down to it. Nervous of his competition. Nick does not show even an inkling of being any kind of nervous or being anything but extremely confident. And not cocky either, because Nick, I think, has been overconfident in the past. This time around, I think this is the best attitude that we've ever seen from Nick Walker, and most definitely the best physique going into the show. So again, my opinion, Nick looking like he is right now, purely physique-wise. Forget about all the YouTube videos and the comments and everything like that, just based on the physique, okay? Nick does look to be a serious contender for not only beating Derek and not only beating Hottie, but also beating our current Mr. Olympia champion, Samson Dauda. There is not much time left. I want your guys' predictions down in the comments below. Give me your top 4, all right? I will have mine coming out this week. Guys, it is going to be, again, very, very difficult to choose, and I cannot wait to see what is going to happen next weekend. Stay tuned. I'm going to have some updates for you guys when it comes to the live stream that we'll be doing. We will be live streaming right here on EP09 Bodybuilding. We'll be doing some giveaways with Bayou Muscle, so make sure you guys tune in right here. Check out BayouMuscle.com. Use code EP10 at checkout. Appreciate everyone supporting the channel thus far. But that's it for me in this video. Thank you guys for tuning into EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.